There's 26 episodes. Did that number come out organically within the story, or was that a set number that was like given to you guys?
You know, it's often a set number. I think a lot of animated series today are created with sets of 13. So it was a number we were used to working with. Our first season was 26 episodes. It seems to be sort of an industry standard. So it was nice to get. I mean, believe me, I would much rather have 26 than 13. I think it works better for Young Justice. I think our second season, for us, 20 episodes, we were happy to have it. But boy, 26 would have been much nicer to, change the pace, have more stories that maybe jump off of the main storyline that runs through the season and maybe do some character building or just side explorations. It changes the pace of the series from 20 to 26, so we're very happy to be back to a 26 episode order.
So what was the, I know I saw some of the images of Static basically kind of growing up and stuff. Were you kind of tempted to kind of go to the comic design, or did you just want to kind of do something very unique for that character for the show?
In terms of design?
Yeah, in terms of design.
I'll leave the design questions to Phil Barassa.
Oh, yeah.
He's
well,
really
just Static,
taking the lead.
Where are y'all taking up season 3? Since now he's kind of separated from his
Well, kind of hesitant to spoil anything about what we're going to be doing with Static. So it was enough that we even showed him. We had a lot of conversations about, do we show any of these characters? Like, what are we going to take to Comic-Con? So yeah, we ultimately decided to show, but not necessarily because we wanted to. We like to keep our secrets.
The current team, his character-wise, like, what is his dynamic with this new team since he's like kind of full tilt established now?
Yep, you'll have to wait for the show. Sorry.
Hey, it's all good.
What was it like to see the fan reaction when it was announced that the show was coming back?
Amazing. I mean, I wasn't sure that we would come back, right? Like, it's not uncommon to have 2 seasons and then you're done. So I thought, great, we had a good run. I was kind of mentally putting the series behind me. It was sad. I think we were all sad. We loved the show. It was the first show I'd gotten to produce and write on and be a creator for. And it was sad. I put it out of my head. But Young Justice stayed around. People found it, various streaming sites. People kept talking about it. Social media was becoming more and more of a thing. So that people were able to go online and start petitions and tweet about it and tell their friends about it and spread the word about it. That was an amazing thing to sit back and watch. And incredibly gratifying. We're making these shows for fans. We're making something that we hope makes them happy. And that was the evidence that we needed, that we did our jobs right. So it was so incredibly gratifying to know that we did make something that people really loved and cared about, and cared enough about that they wanted to tell the world about it. In such numbers, the Warner Brothers could not ignore them and had to bring us back for a 3rd season. It's amazing. How often does that happen? Not often.
You've had the Young Justice video game that came out after season 2.
Yeah.
So are there elements from the video game that are going to kind of like bleed over into season 3? How's that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into any specifics on it, but there's like everything that's in the canon of the show, the video game, the comic books, and of course all of the episodes that we made, it's all canon, and it all becomes reference points for all of the characters as they continue to grow. So, like I said, I won't go into specifics about the story, but it's all game in 3rd season to pull in any and all of those elements that are part of our canon.
Any characters from any of the previous seasons you're excited to see get more screen time?
All of them. It's hard to pick favorites, like picking a favorite kid. We got to know and love so many characters. Right? I mean, we did a pretty rich DC universe. We established a core group, and we continued to build a DC universe around them, and it continued to grow and grow. Very much an important part of the series, showing the DC universe grow with our characters, seeing how that DC universe affects our core characters. But as to like a specific character to come back, honestly, I really do have a difficult time picking. Honestly, I can't. Sorry. They're all very near and dear to my heart. I had fun, writing stuff for all of them.
Was it easy to get back into the groove of writing these characters?
It was, yeah. There were a lot of like little things that I'd forgotten. Again, it was sad for me to let the show go when it ended, and it was like some kind of weird thing in my head where I was like pushing it out of my head, almost trying to forget it so I could move on to the next things that I was working on. So there was actually quite a bit of work for me to like, wow, we're back. I got to remember all the stuff that we did because it's extremely deep. Like the show Bible, all of the backstories for the characters, it was a lot to kind of re-download into my head. But stepping back into that world was easy. Like that was like stepping back into your home or something, because again, I'd been able to help so much in building that world and define it that it was very comfortable for me. It was these were all things I'd always wanted to explore, and if I'd ever gotten the chance to make a superhero show of my own someday, I finally got to do it. And doing it with Greg and doing it with Phil and our team, like get along great with these guys. We connect. I connect with Greg honestly better than any other creative collaboration I've had in my career. We click really well. We have a lot of the similar ideas. We have a lot of similar things that we're going for in building worlds and building stories and building characters. And so it was just easy to slip back into it and get in a room with Greg and start crafting our third season.
Has there ever been any like characters that maybe you wanted to use? I know the show, much like Bruce Timm's, like cartoons and stuff, they use a lot of obscure characters and stuff.
Yeah.
So was there ever like an obscure character that maybe they were kind of like, well, don't use him yet or use her yet or anything like that?
No, not really. You mean like from DC? Or?
Yeah, just from DC, or did y'all just kind of have like, oh yeah, y'all can use these things?
Yeah, not really. DC's been really supportive of us using their characters, and we've always worked very closely with them and looped them in on what we're doing, and they've weighed in and helped make choices here and there. But for the most part, they've really just been able to run. In terms of, just to point out some kind of obscure characters, I definitely was interested in getting some of the Super Friends characters in there through the Runaways. I grew up with Super Friends. I think that was my first exposure to the DC universe, I think. So it was a lot of fun to work in, like Marvin and Wendy and all of our Runaway characters, Alvarado and Samurai. So that was fun for me, and it was nice to be able to use those characters because they were telling an important story. They were reflecting something very specific going on in our Young Justice universe. We were giving them powers. We could go in and mess with their origins a little bit. You can't really do that with any other DC characters. We really try to respect all the origins and backstories of the DC Universe characters because we know fans want that and need that. We get that as fans ourselves. But with the Super Friends characters, there's a little more flexibility there. And so folding them in became a great storytelling tool to help show what the Reach aliens were up to in their invasion of Earth and what they were after with the Metagen. So I was really excited to be able to fold those characters in a meaningful way.
Wonder Twins?
Wonder Twins. There are some that we haven't gotten to yet, huh?
Beyond you and Greg, are any other writers from the original series coming back?
Yeah. I don't want to go into like all of the announcements and stuff for that. I think we want to. We've got ways to go before we premiere, so I'm trying to save a lot of announcements and stuff. So stay tuned for that.
Well, Wally disappeared at the end of the season 2, and we don't know the time skip in season 3 yet. Will that still be a resonating point within season 3?
Yeah, again, I don't want to go into it, but anytime there's a death in real life, you're strongly affected by it. And so certainly we're very much about honoring big events in people's lives, and of course we will write accordingly.
Do you like writing the episodes that have a longer arc, or do you like the one-off episodes that
both? Yeah, I mean, writing a big arc it's a lot of work. It's so much information to track, and it's a lot to produce as well. It's difficult even from a crew standpoint, from teams of directors that only get because we have 3 directors. The directors only get every 3rd episode, but they have to know what's going on in the episodes that they are not directing, because there are obviously the stories are tracking through. And so it's a lot of work for us to write and track all of those through the scripts. It's even more work once it gets to storyboards to make sure that those themes, those stories, or those important plot points are being tracked through in every single episode, so that there's a uniformity to it, despite 3 different crews, having a hand in bringing our scripts to life on the screen. That said, it is nice to just have a one-off episode now and then that doesn't actually have to. We don't have to work too hard to make it tie into the bigger story. Those are like relaxing. It's nice. You don't have to think too much about it. It allows a little more creative involvement from the teams involved. They can, add or subtract things sometimes without affecting the larger storyline. So it's relaxing and nice to work on those. And what's nice about them is that they can still be very meaningful to the bigger story without actually continuing the main plot. You might just learn something new about a character or something, and that can be very satisfying from an audience point of view as well. So it's fun to do both.
Whose idea was it to have The Martian in season 2 actually have a Blue Beetle scarab?
The Blue Beetle scarab
Yeah,
itself?
the scarab for the Martian itself. That was kind of something I never.
Oh, I see. Well, I think, in talking through how the scarabs are used, we just reasoned that, if one landed on Earth, one must have landed on Mars as well, and several other planets. So it just seemed like that was part of the logic. That was us also showing how the scarabs work, what they were designed to be. And it just felt like we needed that in there as a texture to define the reach.
Now, speaking of creative freedoms, being on a streaming service, are you still stuck doing like a 22-minute episode, or can you do a 30-minute episode, an 18-minute another time?
That's a great question, and honestly one that we haven't fully settled on yet. So I think the goal is probably to make something that could go in other areas if we wanted it to. I mean, that's why we're still making these in the 30-minute format, if you will. Even though it's not going to turn in, right? It's often like 22 minutes with once you pad it out with commercial breaks, that's your 30 minutes. So it's just kind of how we set things up in terms of budget. Maybe there will be future possibilities or something for distribution that we're just unaware of, where the 30-minute format is just ideal. So, that's why we're still working with that format. But in terms of can one episode be 20 minutes and one episode be 30 minutes, I'm actually not sure yet. We're still kind of figuring those things out right now.
Back to your appreciation for the fan support and trying to get petitions to get the show back. Coming back to writing, did you feel like the pressure to deliver what people loved so much?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's huge pressure. It's like, again, coming off of the earlier question of what was it like to see the crowd response and to know that the crowd response is what brought our show back for a 3rd season. That puts big pressure on you. It's like, wow, they brought us back. Now what do we do? Now we got to perform. Now we got to give them something that makes them really happy. So it's always pressure just making a show for an audience of fans that already have a built-in fan base. It's the DC universe. There's a huge fan base out there. It's not like we just created something new and we're building a fan base. There's a lot of people out there that already have ideas about how the universe needs to be depicted, and their characters, their favorite characters need to be shown a certain way. That is a lot of pressure. So, we do what we can to go through the DC universe, look at the history of the characters that we're working with, learn about them, learn what it is that fans like about them, and figure out how we can honor all of that in our show, and sometimes maybe bring something new to the table as well. that character.
You talked about your own fandom, before you were doing this show. Was there a certain thing that you had always been thinking about growing up that you were able to incorporate into the series in the first 2 seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I was the generation that grew up with G.I. Joe. So that whole military angle was very interesting to me. I watched a lot of World War II movies when I was a kid, and G.I. Joe, and then later I was getting into shows like Robotech, which are again kind of more on the military side. They tell long form storytelling, or soap opera almost, but in an animated form. So those things I think are heavily featured in Young Justice. It does have the covert ops kind of military vibe to it. It does have the long form storytelling with a lot of dramatic personal stories within it. And Greg naturally brings that to the table. It was something I was already wanting to do. And again, that's another reason why we're a pretty good fit creatively. Yeah, I think that helped, getting some of those textures into the show to hopefully separate us from the great DC animation that came before us.
Is there ever a storyline direction that you were kind of hesitant that fans might kind of go negative with, or just kind of just went through, just like, yeah, we'll see how it happens?
Well, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of one. I can't think of one that we thought might be too controversial to do. There was the only time that I think Greg and I might have ever disagreed about what to do was probably in the first season. And that's, of course, the natural place where you're going to find disagreements as you're starting up a new series. I think the one story I don't mind sharing is I didn't want talking apes or monkeys in the show in the first season. So that was like my one thing, was like we were trying to really establish like a very realistic and grounded world, and we did some offshoots. We had like a Dr. Fate, we did a magic episode, and we did another magic episode with Clarion, and so we did have some of those, but for the most part we were trying to stay very close to what does a realistic world feel like, and what characters can help make that world feel that way. And so that was my one thing that I had put down. It was like, no talking monkeys, no talking apes. Let's save those for later down the road and introduce them once things get a little crazier in our world. So even like aliens and stuff, we saved alien invasion stuff for the second season. There's a very specific reason for that. We wanted that first season to feel as realistic as possible.
Well, even with that dream sequence in the first season, stuff when they went through that whole I guess that reality thing, was that kind of the closest y'all were going to go with the alien invasion?
Was that? Oh, right. That was the Miss Martian training sequence where everybody was in. And that was something I specifically did not want any DC aliens visualized in that show, because that would have changed the story completely. The whole idea of the training scenario was that it needs to be like a heart attack, just something that strikes from out of nowhere. And what do you do about that? If you had assigned an alien race to that, it would have changed the story. It would have felt more like a plot or something. It would have posed questions that would have distracted from the main point of the training session. So we purposefully avoided that and just came up with something that looked new and different and you couldn't pin down in the DC universe.
That episode did have a lot of foreshadowing as to what would happen in season 2, though. Was there anything maybe in season 2 that could kind of foreshadow season 3? Did you have that in mind? I mean, no specifics, obviously.
I think there's a lot in season 2 that, and season 1 and season 2 naturally progress into season 3, and I think you'll feel that. I hesitate that we were setting things up specifically for season 3. It's more that, again, when we got back into the writer's room on our first day for the third season, we just had to look back at what had been done before and what would be the next natural step. And that's really how we came up with our third season.
If you had gotten the third season 4 or 5 years ago, would there not have been a time jump?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, the time jumps are useful just to, grow our characters. Since we're paying attention close attention to real time and tracking every day on the calendar in our show, you need time jumps to progress your characters forward, to find out how they've grown, where they're at now, what are the new problems they're going to be facing. So I think those are important. Yeah, I think it's an important texture of the show.
One more question.
Since we don't know if we're having a season 4 or season 5, it'd be crazy not to give you guys more seasons. Would the story of season 3 be a fitting end within itself for you guys, or would you just be like, oh, we still want something moving forward?
Well, I don't think we would ever want to make like a definitive end. I think I know that kind of drove people crazy about the end of our second season. I know a lot of people thought of it as a cliffhanger. We did not. Nobody was left endangered or in jeopardy or immediate, danger of losing their life or something like that. It was just business as usual. I mean, that's why those lines were there, was to tell people this isn't a cliffhanger. Life continues. It's business as usual. Bad guys are still going to be bad guys. Good guys are still going to be good guys. The fight's going to continue no matter who rises or falls. That is an unending battle between good and evil. That's how life works. And that's what we want the show to reflect, is real life. So there will never be like a definitive end to it. So that said, I felt like where we ended was good. I felt like we closed a lot of big stories. We've grown our characters. We got to really explore themes of generations and growth within the characters that we introduced from our first season. I think we were very happy with where we concluded in our second season. That said, we wanted to do more. We were ready to. We had all kinds of story cards on the wall in the writer's room that hadn't been hit yet. And those immediately popped up as we sat down to define our third season. I can't say that third season would happen, or fourth season, or fifth. I mean, cliffhanger? I don't know if we'll do a cliffhanger. But yeah, I think that's the bottom line, is we'll never do a definitive ending, no matter how many seasons we get.
Even when you know it's over, like we don't want to do it anymore?
Yeah, I don't know why we would. Like I said, the bad guys are still going to be out there, and good guys are still going to need to deal with them. I think it would be weird to end the story with all evil has been vanquished. We can't, because that would be the only actual ending that you could do, and I can't imagine doing that.